And you're live on Joy 99.7 FM. This is Ghana Connect. And today, it's one of those days where the individual bondholders haven't relented at all in the fight to get their bonds exempted, particularly the pensioners who are holding on to these bonds. We've been talking about it on Top Story. Of course, today, the highlight was the former Chief Justice, Justice Sophia Akufo, her lordship, joining that particular protest. She says the bonds that she signed onto had no clause in there that suggested that the government can decide to shortchange her because the economy is in crisis. One of her primary concerns today, when she expressed it at the protest, was the fact that she simply does not believe the government has done enough themselves to sacrifice, to show that they've sacrificed their own part to get us out of this particular crisis. He says, we are not your last option. And she's been speaking about this today. It takes us to our conversation today about what happened this week. And there's a link to that. The growing calls for government to cut its own size to show good faith and to show the evidence that they're also sacrificing their bit. I want to listen to Sophia Akufo and the way she put it when she interacted with my colleague, James Aveji, at the gates of the Finance Ministry today.
If there is the need to restructure debts, before you even decide you're going to restructure debts, the first thing you need to do, I believe, is to look within what is fully under your control and see where you can cut this, you can postpone this, you can reprioritize, and be honest with the people of Ghana. Because of A, B, C, D, E, and F, we will shelve this, we will put this on the back burner, we will prioritize this because it has to do with education, it has to do with a human life, and so on and so forth. You don't just jump at the low-hanging fruit. And the people whose money is in your hand, and you're going to tell them, okay, your money is in my hand, and this is how you're going to get it back. It's rude, it's wicked, it's unlawful, it's not right. It lacks good faith, it lacks humanity, because we are sitting here because we are well enough to come. Do you know how many people are languishing at home? Do you know how many people who are not even, they are in such a bad state, they are not even aware of what's going on, but it's their investments that have been keeping them alive. You don't know, you don't care. And you do not touch the old people. You do not touch the funds of the aged when you have not done other things. You have not done due diligence. You have not checked on what other things you do. We are not your last resort. You haven't reached the point of last resort. If they think they've reached the point of last resort, they should prove it to us and show us why this is the only solution. And in any case, it's not a lawful solution. So they should not even go there. Because if they change the law today, it will not affect what has already accrued.
So that's Her Lordship, Madame Sophia Akufo, speaking there. And she makes that point when she began articulating her views on this, that the first thing you do when you're in a crisis such as this is to check and to deal with the things that you are in complete control of. Many have said that points to, one, your size of government, look at your own expenditure and cut there first before you extend it elsewhere. And she believes the government hasn't done that enough and so loses the moral authority to ask her to sacrifice. And this is happening, and she said this in the week when the president had an opportunity to reshuffle his government. The question we are asking you tonight on the back of that is, did the president miss that opportunity to reduce the size of his government in keeping with what you just heard the immediate past Chief Justice express there? We're going to be connecting on that, and I want to bring in my connectors who are joining me right now for a conversation. Abdul Karim Ibrahim is a researcher, graduate student and a journalist. Hello, Abdul. Hello, Abdul. Hello, Karim. Okay, please unmute for me if you're on. Efodela is also connecting. He is a blogger and a friend of the show. Hello, Della.
Hello, Evans. How are
Hey,
you
Happy New
doing?
Year. I'm great. Long time no talk.
Yeah, I'm around. Happy New Year.
Fantastic. Is Karim on?
Hello, Evans.
Hey,
Yeah,
Karim.
I'm here, Evans.
Yeah. Great to hear you, and Happy New
Great
Year
to
to
be
you.
here again, Evans.
Yes. Isaac he's a freight forwarder and connects via Zoom as well. Hello, Isaac. Isaac, please unmute and let me hear you.
Hello, Evans.
Hi, great to hear
Hello,
you.
Evans.
I can hear you
Yeah,
loud and clear. Thank you very much.
thank you.
Kojo is a business marketing consultant based in Canada and connects with us. Kojo Dadinyami Owusubuachi. Hello, Kojo.
Oh, hi, Evans.
Great to have you connecting with us tonight. And guess who else is connecting with us? Carla. Carla Limpio is a corporate lawyer, founder of the Agency 77, a business advisory firm in Ghana. Look for them on the web and reach out to Carla. Carla connects with us via Zoom as well. Hello, Carla.
Hi, Evans. Good to be here.
Good to have you connect with us. Listen, gentlemen and lady, I want to start by bringing in two connectors we haven't had before, but they are distinct because they are pensioners. They are peers of Madame Sophia Akufo. I just want to interact with them very briefly about what is happening and get the sense of what they make of the current situation. And then I'll come to you to share your thoughts on everything that's happened today and the comment by the former Chief Justice and what we will hear from our pensioners who are connecting with us tonight. Connecting with me on the phone is Dr. Samuel Amakwe. He's a retired medical doctor. Hello, Doc.
Hello.
Hey, great to have you connecting with us tonight.
Yes, thank you.
Seth Ohene is a retired civil engineer. Hello, Seth.
Hello, Evans.
Hi.
Yes, my name is Seth Ahene.
Seth Ahene.
Yes.
Great, Uncle Seth. I'm grateful that you're connecting with us tonight.
Thank you, Evans.
Great. I want to start with you, Dr. Ama. Dr. Ama, so were you at the finance ministry this week?
Yes. Yes, I was there yesterday.
Oh, you were there yesterday. So you missed the former Chief Justice today?
No, today I couldn't go today. Yesterday.
You couldn't go today, yeah. But I'm pretty sure you've heard what she's had to say today.
Yes, I did.
I wonder what you made of the things she said.
Yeah, I agree with the former Chief Justice. I agree with her.
I believe I may have heard your story on our network yesterday. You may have spoken to my colleague James Aveji, and James tells your story about why you went there yesterday. I believe James told us that you are 80 plus and you need the resources, your hard-earned investment that you've put in over years, more than 8 decades of working into it, and you need it back so you can survive. Tell us a story.
Yeah. To introduce myself, I'm Dr. Samuel Amakwe, a retired private medical practitioner. I retired in 2017 due to illness. And as we grow old, we try as hard to plan. We plan ahead for everything, and this is what I did. I'm an individual bondholder. I bought the bond in August 2022, and it's maturing in September 2022. And all of a sudden, I heard that no, I can't get my money, but I have to participate. Yes. And I can't do it because of my sickness. Actually, I'm suffering from chronic kidney disease, stage 4. And I know in stage 4, it can go to stage 5. It was renal failure later. But it can, straight from stage 4, it could go to renal failure once. It's all, I'm trying hard, I'm managing, but still nobody knows. It can.
And you're managing because of the savings that you've put down in the bonds, the coupons you were taking. That's what you were using to manage.
Yes.
Uncle Seth, I mean, what's your personal story? I wonder whether you also at the finance ministry to protest.
No, I was there yesterday.
Yes, Evans, I've been there. I was there Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Today I couldn't go because I lost one of my nephews, and I had to go and chase the death certificate and all those. So by the time I finished, it was too late to get there. But I had polio as a 1-year-old. I went on to train as a civil engineer, and I've worked extensively in the mining industry in project management. But for somebody who's had polio, my condition in later life is different from somebody who has led a normal life throughout. So I decided to put down enough money in these bonds so that I'll be able to cater for my medical care, drugs, even if it becomes necessary at a certain point to be flown outside for treatment. I'll have enough money. So what I've done is spread it out. So I have about 9 or 10 of them. It's only in 2 months that I don't get anything, so that every month I get something to cater for my needs. I mean, I was shocked when initially we were told we will not get anything in 2023. I mean, is that a death sentence? No, I don't. Evans, I don't think what is happening is right.
So from the 10%, then they moved it to from the 0. They moved it to I believe 5, and then now to 15. But from if you are the protest, then I believe you belong to the group that insists give us a clear exemption.
Yes, we should be giving a clear exemption because that 3% that we are haggling about now, for me, it means 6,000 cedis. And 6,000 cedis is my medical bill for 1.5 months. Each month, my medical bill is 4,000 Ghana cedis. So that is my medical bill for 1.5 months. So for this 1.5 months, look, I'll tell you something, Evans. When up to December, I was doing some consultancy work, so the mine was taking care of my medical bills. Now, when I came back, I thought, look, my high blood pressure medicines were costing me too much, so I will reduce the dosage to half and do exercises and so on. Within 3-4 days, it shot up so high, I've had to go back to the original dosage. So if you tell me you are taking away this 3%, you are taking away my medication for 1.5 months, and I will die.
The finance minister today met your leaders, Edouard Nantwi and Co. Dr. Samuel Ama, he met Edouard Nantwi and Co. today and said that, and we had that because Edouard Nantwi addressed the media afterwards. The finance minister insists that a 15% coupon for you and the maturity extension to 5 years is the best offer on the table, and that you have the choice of deciding not to participate, but again warned that if you don't participate, then tradability will be an issue. So that is his final message today after today's protest. Well, what do you say to the finance minister, Dr. Samuel Makwe, on the back of what he told your leaders today?
No, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't participate. Then I need my money too. So I need the money to, to buy my drugs and then for my dialysis.
And Uncle Seth, what do you say to the finance minister when he said that today?
it's very insensitive, and that is not what I expect from a leader. We voted them into power to lead us. If you are a leader and there are problems, you must come out with win-win solutions. There are so many ways that this government can cut down on expenditure. And even my son, I gave him my old Toyota Hilux pickup 3 later. The price of fuel has gone up so high. One morning, I woke up and the car was there. He was gone. When he came back from work, I asked him, "Kwesi, why didn't you go to work with the car?" He said, "I can't buy petrol, so I'll prefer to take trotro to work." And he's still doing that. You look within first. If Kwesi knows that he can't manage to buy fuel, it will affect his income. So he parked the car. We as a government, they as leaders should look within and cut down areas which will let them save, so that we will have our freedom to lead our lives the way we have planned it.
And you believe they haven't done that yet?
I don't see the evidence, Evans. If you know the evidence, tell us on air. Maybe you know, I don't know. But if there's, or maybe your other panelists can tell us on air so that the whole world can hear it. I haven't seen the evidence.
I mean, Dr. Samuel Amakwe, Madam Sophia Akufo, the former Chief Justice, also made the same point today, that you look within first, cut within, and show us the evidence. He says she's not seen the evidence yet. Do you also believe for a pensioner who is dependent on the coupons to survive because of your medical condition, that your government hasn't done enough to sacrifice, and possibly that sacrifice then makes it possible for you to be exempt?
I need to be exempted because in my case, I don't receive any coupons. Because I put the money there and it's maturing in September this year, and in September I should get my money fully to look after myself.
Finally, to you, Dr. Amakwe, as we stand tonight, the finance minister is insisting that nothing will change. What do you plan to do next with your colleagues going forward?
I can't do anything. Then I'll get my money, and we shall continue to go to the Ministry of Finance daily
and protest. Uncle Seth, finally to you, the finance minister today makes the point that you are not getting zero, we are getting 15% over a 5-year period. I mean, isn't 15% good enough?
Yes, Evans. I went into this with a certain plan, and that plan was 18% over so many years, spread out over so many months. So if per my plan, you want to take away part of the income that I was expecting, then you want to scuttle the whole plan I made for my life. And that could, I emphasize again, that could be the difference between life and death for me. So that is the strong message I want to send to the finance minister, that what he's doing means he wants to send me to my grave early. And if that is what he wants, then it is his problem.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Seth Ahene. He's a retired civil engineer. Dr. Samuel Amakwe, and also retired medical doctor, both pensioners who have been protesting all week at the finance ministry. I want to bring in the rest of my connectors now who have been listening into this conversation, because it sort of ties in with that conversation I want to have with them. And Dr. Seth Ahene, just like the former Chief Justice, make the point that they both have not seen the sacrifice from their government. And I want to bring you in, Karim, on the subject, because the president had an opportunity this week to start showing to Seta Hine, the former Chief Justice, the evidence of that expenditure cut in a way that reduces the size of government significantly, and begins to show that the government is carrying its own burden in trying to fix this economy. Did the president miss an opportunity?
Well, Evans, I think it depends on where one is looking at this from. And I wonder if you, Evans, truly believe that there was any opportunity at all in the first place. And I ask you so because if you juxtapose the conversation that we are having and this seeming expectation against the nature of our politics, right? The politics characterized by a very docile culture, a partisan culture also protected by loyalty, the kind that you get from a protective, castrated dog, and zero interest in real accountability. If you look at all of that, I don't see how anybody really expected anything, because here's why. With the economy obviously down in the pits, and I mean, you can't kill a dead person at this point, and the crucial primaries coming in the hopes of changing political hands, among many other things, to even define the future of power and where it stands in the ruling party's own system, among other things. You have to make a decision to sack people who consider political office as their, first line of survival, and incur internal wrath, or risk it all in hopes that, people at the end of the day who are able to bulldoze our way through with the debt restructuring would have everybody by ending of 2023, early 2024, everybody coming back in line because of what I mentioned earlier about our docile political culture and zero interest in accountability. When I look at all of that, I really don't think that the president missed anything. If anything at all, I think that he played according to the script. This is the reality that we have. And so for all the people that we were expecting that would lose their jobs, how did we imagine that was going to happen, especially at this particular point in time? And so for me, Evans, I appreciate that if the president had acted on what many expected, that would have been good. That would have made many of us very happy and all of that. But if you look at the reality of how we do our things, I don't know why anybody would reasonably expect that the president would have done any different from what he has.
Interesting. Carla, did you also have a less expectation or a zero expectation going into this opportunity that the president had? Or you probably also shared a view that it wasn't an opportunity after all?
So Evans, to be honest with you, I've always steered clear of these demands, even, obviously, in kind of like, conversations with friends or whatever, for a cut down in the size of government. Because I've never been in government, I don't know what it takes to run a government. And so I'm not really in a position to know. However, I ask myself, what is it that people are really asking for when they're asking for, the government to be cut down? And it's something that keeps coming up over and over again. What people are really asking for is to see a level of sacrifice from the government that they feel is commensurate with what ordinary people are being asked to do. That's what people are asking for. So whether it is a cut down in the size of government or it is something else, it really, really needs to be done, because really, fundamentally, that's what people want to see. And clearly, people are not seeing it. And so that's why they keep making these demands. As to whether or not there was an actual opportunity, I really have no idea. I can't say I was expecting the government to be cut down, so I don't know. But what I do know is that clearly, for the former Chief Justice to have gone to picket today, and let me just say, if her ladyship is listening, that, she really made me proud to be a lawyer today. I really admire her courage. She did not have to go and stand there and I admire her for standing up. It just shows how strongly people feel about this. And it's everybody saying it, that they just are not seeing the level of sacrifice that they would expect from the government. If the government is sacrificing, they're not showing it enough.
I mean, but Bakala just hit the nail on the head there, and I want to throw it to Efudala. So the whole former Chief Justice goes out to pick it, and her message was central to this conversation we're having, which is, I haven't seen the sacrifice. And so if it took the former Chief Justice to go and say that, and everybody has been saying it, by the way. I mean, of course, she amplified it. You've just had the two pensioners we spoke to make the same point. Uncle said was clear about this, that show me your own sacrifice. Why do you think it's become so impossible for the political leaders, the president, who obviously has the ultimate power, to simply comply?
Evans, I think first, before I answer the question or attempt to answer the question, the stories from the two pensioners really had me close to tears. It was really painful to hear, and also seeing the former Attorney General, it was really shocking. When we're growing up, we always had this idea that you save for a rainy day so that when you become old, you don't have to be a burden to people. And seeing people who have done exactly the thing that we told them to do being put in this situation is very difficult. I think that the call for the reduction of the various ministers and ministries has been something we've been calling for a long time. And I honestly feel like the president and his people are detached from reality in a certain way. They seem to think that people are exaggerating their suffering, which is very ridiculous to me. And that's the feeling I get, and I might be wrong, because some of the pronouncements that they make on how they are going to deal with this situation are very difficult. Like initially, when there were talks of paying people over a span of 15 years, Evans, in 15 years ago, 5,000 cedis, 5,000 cedis was a note that could do a lot of things for you. That 5,000 cedis right now is 50 pesos. And if you are thirsty, you might not be able to get 50 pesos to buy water at places. You can't buy bottled water if you don't have anything bigger than 50 pesos. So the payment plan to pay people in this period of 15 years is just ridiculous, totally detached from reality, and honestly very mean. And seeing the president not making even grand gestures, that may be empty gestures, to appeal to the sentiments of people is very, very disconcerting for me, because one of the things I understand about leadership and that I've grown is that sometimes you might not be able to do something, but you can make a symbolic gesture to appease the people and get them to follow you in a particular direction. For example, when we were calling for the firing of the finance minister, it might not necessarily have changed something, but it would have given faith to people that the president is listening to their plights. But the president was very adamant about doing this. And on top of that, when one minister stepped down, he went ahead to add that person's portfolio to the Minister of Finance, which was kind of rubbing salt in the wounds of people who have been asking for this. So honestly, I think that the president and his team are very detached from reality. I don't know if they know what they are doing, or if they are seeing the plight of people. Honestly, seeing people, the pensioners picketing for their own money was so disheartening to me. I remember tweeting today asking if anybody would ever be interested in investing in bonds in this country again after like this sordid experience.
Yeah, I mean, and that is the consequence of all this down the line that we'll have to confront, even if we overcome this kind of economic crisis. But you made a point I want to get the thoughts of Isaac on. Isaac, is it a case that our leaders are simply detached from reality, as Efo explains?
Hello, Evans. Thank you very much. And I will say greetings to my fellow panelists. And Evans, I've been very down listening to the pensioners and also listening to the fellow panelists. And I agree with Carla that I wish that we don't link the downsizing of the government to this inhumane approach. I'm a government communicator, and these decisions make it very difficult for us to even come out and speak for the party. It is also a very symbolic event to see a former Chief Justice who is a party member picketing against a decision by her own government. It is very instructive. And I think if anything has pushed...
I must indicate though that Madam Sophia Akufo, nobody knows what party she belongs to, and I think we should just leave her, the partisan, tagging out of this. She just went there as a former Chief Justice, as a citizen who is affected to express her own wishes and to protest. Let's just keep it at that, so that in Ghana, once you say somebody is this, then it changes the whole conversation. So I wanted to take that out. She just went there as somebody affected to just go out there and protest. Let's keep that at Isaac. I'm sure you appreciate that.
Noted.
Yes, exactly.
Noted. I understand. All I'm saying is that I agree with what all panelists have said, and also what the pensioners have said. This is a very inhumane decision, and I think the better the government sits down to rectify it, the better for all of us. To spread somebody's funds or investment for 15 years, like the last speaker before me said. It's the money. We know how our money inflates in this country, and to listen to people whose medication is based on this investment, and for the finance minister to come out and say this is a give or take issue. It's very, sometimes you have to communicate, but the way you go about your communication goes down to speak volumes of your sensitivity and other things. What I would say is that the pensioners have invested their money. They are not as strong as they were 20, 15 years ago. And definitely they will not be able to get the things that they have whilst they were actively working. And anything short of what they have agreed before they did this investment will be inhumane. And I plead with my government to sit down again, go through this. It is not giving us a very good image. This is a bad decision. This is a decision that nobody can defend. Nobody with a good conscience can defend. And I think that we will not do ourselves any good by going out as party people to defend this decision. This can never be a give or take issue. We should go back to the investment plan of these pensioners and make sure that they get their due. We should sit down with them, and how they want this plan to go, this domestic debt exchange program should go, we should listen to them. Evans, I am not happy. And I don't think this is a good call for us as a nation. It kills investment drive. It kills trust in the bond sector, and it is not going to help us.
I mean, it's good to every now and then. It's good to every now and then hear the voices from within. Abdul Karim, I wonder. So this is a voice from within, giving us a sense of the disillusionment among the ranks of party communicators, etc., and government communicators. Does that suggest? And as FO Della possibly make the point that there is a complete detachment from the reality. Even those associated with communicating the government policies, etc., are feeling the pinch and know this is wrong. But the leaders at the top, there's a clear Chinese wall that has now been erected between us and them. Is that what the problem really is?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it explains it in part. But also, it is even bigger and deeper than that. And I don't mean to take a slight at a colleague who is just made a point. But I just wanted to also say that it is not for nothing that maybe you or myself or the very many people who consume political discourse in this country may not exactly know this gentleman. As candid as he has spoken, I believe, there's a reason why somebody like him, for instance, and I'm taking this to be that this is his principled position on many other matters of this nature. There's a reason why I don't know him, right? And for me, it tells a story. Look around and look at the very many more prominent party communicators or government communicators that we know. And ask yourself, really, what is their own disposition also? If you listen to the chief communicator of the government or if you listen to, well, he has been very silent lately, but if you listen to the chief communicator of the party, right, do you get the impression, for instance, that even the people around the presidency or the government as it is in power today have any sense of awareness of sort of things that we are talking about here? And for me, that is where the problem is. And that's why I went back to an earlier point. I'm going back to an earlier point about the docility that we have and the culture that we have created. So today, everybody is praising the former Chief Justice for going out there, and I don't take anything away from her. But there's something that she said that really sticks out for me. If you listen to the interview very well, there's a part almost to the end of it where she says, I mean, basically, Yentia, or we no go do. It is basically what she was essentially saying. And it sounded very, very off and very different. This is because here in Ghana, oftentimes when people are pushed to the wall and they vent their spleen, they speak, we like to police sentiments. So there's a certain discourse that we want to see. There's a certain tone that we want to hear from people and all of that. Today, even though, yeah, she was very calm and all of that, but that was very poignant for me because she was essentially saying that if you don't take this thing away from us and come back to us with some humility, nobody's going to listen to you. And these things are said by Fix the Country. They're said by many other activists in very different lights. But the way that we take them, and oftentimes are very quick to tell, especially young people, to shut up and all of those things. You see, we are all, I mean, empathizing with pensioners. And again, I don't dispute that. But I do not think that for many of them, for instance, their situation is more precarious than, say, a teacher who has 3 kids and has nothing more than the little money that they have put, they have with the government, even though that person may be 30, 40, 50 years. And you see, so there's a bigger problem here. But even for all of us, the way that we talk about it, sometimes it feels as though we're only so empathetic with pensioners because somehow they are all probably, God forbid, going to die tomorrow. And for that matter, we need to empathize with them. It is beyond that. And the way, Evans, we generally come to conversations around accountability, around justice, among many other things like that, betrays us. And that's why today, when we are, I've seen that Oliver Barker, for instance, of Fix the Country has gotten a lot of backlash because he doesn't seem very enthused about the Chief Justice, what she did today. And to an extent also, I understand where he's coming from. Because you see, for the elders of this country, if they would always pretend or whatever, act in a certain way that suggests that as for them, they are not very confrontational, they don't like to come out as forcefully and as strongly as the Chief Justice has done now, and only wait up till the point of near collapse. It would be nice, we'll praise them, and we'll all be happy that they have done what they have done, but they won't amount to nothing. And for me, this should be an awakening for all of us to begin to realize that sometimes when people are agitated, we must seek to understand where it is that they are coming from and not seek to rubbish them until the point when somebody like that, because we respect her, because we don't even think that it is her level to go out there. Because many say that, well, she's on a 40,000 Ghana cedis a month salary on retirement and many other things. And so she probably didn't even need to go there. It's true. But at the end of the day, this is all that we're going to do. We're going to be very happy and excited that she has done an amazing job. But beyond that, what? We need to have a society and a system where we won't wait until moments like this before the most powerful voices of our society would realize that all of a sudden they have a voice and so they must speak.
Carla, what do you say to
that? So the events of today and you know, the past couple of weeks have gotten me thinking about a very famous quotation. You've probably heard it by a German pastor post-war, after they'd been through kind of the Second World War. And, you know, he said, first they came for the socialists and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me and there was no one left to speak for me. And I'm not in any way equating what's going on in Ghana with the Holocaust or a world war, but in a way, I agree with, some of the things that have been said, that, people have needed to take collective action before now, because, this is what is happening today, that now everybody is suffering. And this may be an unpopular opinion, but I don't believe that the president and the Minister of Finance and other government ministers are out of touch. And I don't believe that they don't care. I think they do care. I don't think that there's any way that they would want this situation to be happening. I don't think that they want people to be suffering. But, Evans, it is easy for people to believe that they don't care or they don't know, because they are not showing that they do. They're not sacrificing. All around the world right now, we're hearing of mass layoffs, tech companies, Google, this, that, laying off tens of thousands of people here, there. Imagine if they were only laying off the lower ranks of people, no managers, no senior people. In any situation where you have to, make sacrifices, you have to make them across the board. And as one of my co-panelists said earlier on, even if it is just a symbolic gesture, show people, part of the reason why people believe there is money somewhere and that there are many other choices is because they're not seeing some of the people that they feel are in leadership displaying, an image showing that they are really cutting costs and sacrificing. So I know a lot of people, you hear a lot of people talking, it's like, oh, there's money. I don't believe there is that much money. But are we showing it? Are we showing people that there isn't money? Or are we, it's almost like you're pointing fingers at somebody and saying, you sacrifice, but I don't feel like I'm sacrificing. So it's, really what it comes down to, I don't know about cutting down government, I don't know about anything particular, but what it comes down to is that for people to believe that there is no money, you have to show them that there is no money. But if you live like there's a lot of money, why will anybody believe it? And that's really what I have to say.
Interesting point. I want to bring in Kojo Daddy on the 2 points, and Kala agrees in part with Abdul Karim. And Kojo Daddy, you are a Ghanaian, you live in Canada. Many will argue that it won't get this bad in a country like Canada because there will be citizen accountability. There will be accountability. And the government will not be allowed, the checks and balances work. Citizens will not wait till it gets this bad to pull out the big guns, to call out the government and go and protest. Is that a view you share?
Yeah, it's a view I do share. And in Canada, we probably will look at it from two sides of the equation. One is a business confidence point of view, and one is analytical confidence point of view. The business confidence has got to do with the people and how they react to the decision being made by the government by just keeping the size and reshuffling, which I think is still a good decision, but because people feel like, okay, maybe the best thing the government could have done was to just reduce the size as a way of reducing expenditure, which one another serve as a bit of business confidence to the bondholders that, hey, the government shares in our pain and they're willing to pay off in the long run. But also from an analytical point of view, the government might be viewing it this way. Maybe we can keep the same size. Maybe we can sign an agreement with those people coming in and say, hey, we can reduce the salaries for this period of time, then see the best initiatives to take. That we don't know yet. So I'll give it a 70-30 split. Yes, from a business confidence point of view, the government didn't do well. But from an analytical point of view, they probably have done well, which we don't know yet. We're waiting for further statements from the government to actually conclude on the statement.
And what about that point about the Karim makes about accountability and the docility, the typical docility of the average Ghanaian? We wait to get really, really bad before you begin to hear voices.
Yeah, the average Ghanaian really waits for things to get bad before you actually get to hear their voices. And it's something example. Let me use kind of as an example. So, in order to be like the best, we learn from the best. So let's see Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia in 2003 had a very terrible economy. So terrible to the extent that it was getting close to shut down. What did they do? They had to use the pro-business approach. They had to sell oil, and now they reduced their debt burden about 80% in 2003 to 10.5% in 2010. Now they have a very good economy. Now let's look at what happened with Sweden. Sweden in 1994, close in the 1990s, basically, had a very terrible economy, close to financial ruin. What did they do? They had to reduce government spending and also increase taxes for a period of time. So yes, I do understand that people would have sentiment and comment about these, but I believe that also from a political point of view, maybe the performance of those coming in there might actually generate more revenue for the government, hence pushing to be able to pay for the bondholders in the longer run.
I mean, let's wrap up with the conversation around. So there's consensus around the table that yes, one, the government hasn't done enough. There possibly wasn't a missed opportunity this week for the president to downsize. That didn't happen. I mean, you could believe there's an opportunity or not, but the general sense is that, well, that would have helped the case. So it hasn't happened. The size remains the same. The cuts, if they're happening, we haven't seen the evidence yet. As a citizen, what can change? I mean, and Abdul Karim makes the point, and Kala agrees that we're too docile and possibly want to wait till the thing gets too bad before we speak. Well, where we are, can citizens do more to get what they want out of their government at a time like this? And what can they do?
So, Evans, maybe I might be. I don't agree that Ghanaians are docile. That's one of the things that I have been to a few protests in the last 10 years. At least I've been to 4 or 5 protests in Accra, and a lot of people turned up in mass numbers. I was at one of the protests and I saw how the police handled a few young men there. I saw somebody lose an eye at one of the protests. I saw a few of my friends get arrested. In fact, I remember one of the protests a few years ago, somebody called, a picture of mine showed up, and somebody called and tried to get me fired from my job. Luckily, I work for a private company, and so that didn't happen. There are lots of people who are trying hard to make their voice heard. We had a lot of young people who you would think are very detached from the situation, put out the fix your country thing. And we saw people who should be standing beside these young people to fight for them, come out and say, fix yourself. We have a young generation that is very vibrant and is trying to do. And we have an older generation whose job it is to complement the vibrancy of the younger generation, fighting the younger generation. These are people who have not had any experience in such a bad situation, and people who would have probably lived through 83 and things, who should be supporting the young people fight against such a bad system, are telling people that they do not respect, or because they have a beard, or because they have an afro or because they have dreadlocks, they cannot speak. So I do not think that Ghanaians are like, at least my generation of Ghanaians are docile. I feel like we have a cult. We have a generational war of people who are entrenched in a certain system, who are benefiting from it, fighting against people who want things to change. So that's my take on the idea that Ghanaians are docile. It's very difficult to fight for things if, whilst you are fighting for them, people are making life more difficult, because life goes on. Imagine if somebody who was trying to get me fired had succeeded in getting me fired. In a country where it's hard to get a job, this would have made my life worse. So sometimes you have to think about these things, but I do not think Ghanaians are docile. That's one of the things that, at least, I don't think people of my generation are docile.
And Isaac, you told us earlier that you are a government communicator. You had concerns. You believe what the current arrangement with individual bondholders should change. As a citizen yourself and somebody within, how do you get your leaders to change, to do what you've just told us must be done?
Well, Evans, thank you once again. I think we all know that this political thing and this political organization, everything has structures. And I wouldn't say it on air, but we have been meeting, and just this past Tuesday we met and communicators in the region, and we discussed these issues. We have relayed our sentiments to our superiors, and we wish they will listen to us, because it doesn't augur well for us. it doesn't augur well for the party, and it makes communication very difficult. Now, to touch a little bit on the docility of the Ghanaian youth, I agree with Dela. We are not docile. The issue is that we are extremely partisan. So when things are going against us, and it is this party A, that is in power, even though party A have consent, they will not get involved. So it will be party B doing it. Immediately party B comes to power, it is party B that talks, and then party A also decides to do otherwise. So that is our problem. We are not docile. We speak out. We want to be heard. Just that we are too partisan. And I pray that a time will come that this generation will all sit down and know that we have only one country. And when it goes bad for all of us. And I think this decision is a bad one. And the government had to sit up. Thank you.
Isaac, thank you very much. Abdul, thank you very much. Efo Kala Kojo, grateful that you could connect with us tonight. I want to hear from the many of you who couldn't join us directly, but have sent many messages on our social media platform.
Yes, Evans. So this connector all the way from Salt Pond Steel, he says these individual bondholders have the character of Shylock in Shakespeare's Merchant of Venice. Their coupons, even that coupons should be given to them, even if the whole state suffers. This one all the way from Kumasi from Sami says, listening to the plight of the retired Dr. Makwe and Mr. Ahene, my heart was really saddened. If the finance minister with there's a word I'm not sure I can use it, goes ahead to include these individual bondholders in the debt exchange program, the unquenchable wrath of God, we beg you, would rather come upon Ghana forever. Sami, I don't think all of us have to suffer in that. This one from Newtown, Nikojo tells us that if you take up an office and fail to deliver your mandate, the best and honorable thing to do is to resign and let others take up the mantle. This one all the way from North Kaneshi, Adam tells us, truth be told, this is the cruelest and most another word, government that ever ruled this country. They should now bow their heads in shame. It's not a crime to invest in government today. This one from Patrick in Accra, he says NDC is becoming lazy in opposition. Wheelchair 90-year-olds are on the streets demonstrating, and NDC is fighting about where Honorable Haruna should sit in parliament. Well, this one without a name unfortunately says that we the people of Ghana are not angry enough. If we are really angry enough, the leaders in power will not be where they are now. And Evans,
a few of you strong